So on this show, we've got basically 5 different varieties of fixtures, and I'm gonna kind of start with the smallest and go to the largest. We have all but 3 Martin Mac Quantum spots, 3 of them behind Lars's drum kit, only 3 of those on the show. Then around the stage at all of the mic positions, we have SGM Q7s. Those uplight each one of the mic positions for us. We started off with Q7s and Atomics on the show, but we wanted to clean up the stage. So now we have the JDC strobe and LED wash by GLP. Fantastic fixture. It combines an LED wash fixture, color changing RGB, with an atomic strobe LED. So that's pretty much the entire stage. Up in the air to light our audience, Solaris flares everywhere from TMB. Tried to make them at angles to where we're not abusing the audience, because the band likes to see the audience quite a bit. So we try to keep them from angles that are not obtrusive to their eyes. From there, we have our Axioms in the corners. So these on this angle was actually an idea from Dan, because these lights were originally in trusses in the air, but Dan wanted to stay away from any traditional trussing that would be on the show. So we had this idea and it worked. The band loves it. It's a unique angle that you don't see in a lot of arena shows. Works out really well. It also gives this vibe that the stage doesn't end when we are able to strafe the audience toward the stage, and you're lighting the entire audience. When you're up in the high seats, you can't really tell where the stage ends and where the audience begins. It looks fantastic. It all lights the backs of their heads. It looks amazing. I absolutely love it. Then from there, we have our spotlights, which are run by Spot Track. Right now, they're not in tracking mode. They're just shooting straight down. So we've got 3 of these in each corner of the arena. And then on top of that, we have another 8 over the stage as truss spots. So if we're doing a song, perhaps the cubes are all the way in and we can't get a front shot from the band, we can always light them with our truss spots because they're interior to the cubes. And then from there, the fun part, 52 more Robe wash beams, 1 assigned to each cube. The mounting system was the entire cube, including the mount for the wash beam, was all developed by Tate. Very slick little system that allows our techs to get in and out of them fairly easily, and able to work on the lights as well. Now, the unique thing about what we're setting up here is that we're using not just pan tilt, but we're using XYZ positioning. When I was initially given the rendering for the show and knowing that the timeline that we had to build the show, I knew that cube moves were going to constantly be evolving. And the other concern was daily maintenance of having 100 different cube positions and having our automation guy sit up here, go to 100 different positions, starting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon all the way up to doors while we're focusing everything. So I decided to go with XYZ system within the console and using virtual markers. So on the stage area, we have roughly 31 virtual markers. And then out in the house here, I also have about roughly 100 virtual markers. So when I focus these lights, I'm actually focusing the virtual marker. So I will go through all the positioning, make sure that everything works over the stage, if the stage is in the right place, I usually never have to touch those. If I do, it's minimal. Out in the house, every arena is different. So some days my virtual markers may be outside of the arena. Some days it may be too close to the stage. So I pick a convergence point of where all the lights will go to, and then make sure that all of the lights are meeting in one particular area. So for example, if I were to grab one of my house markers here and go to the upper bowl and tighten those up, that is actually referencing a virtual marker up in the seats. So I can swing these around, and now we're going to that virtual marker. So that's how we're actually focusing this show. And then from there, we can build fans and everything else in any other positions that we want to. But the rest of the show and down to the drum kit is all virtual markers. So for these particular sets of lights, we're focusing virtual markers, not actually focusing the lights. That information is shared between our system and Tate Navigator. Tate Navigator drives everything. Our system, we've got this set up to where we send an allow. Tate Navigator says, yes, you can move them. And then we send a signal to where we want the cubes to go and at what time. And they move in 3D space. We're also getting feedback into our 3D system that will tell the light where it is virtually in that 3D space. While that's happening, the same exact thing is happening over here on D3 Disguise. where he knows where everything is in virtual space as well. So as we're doing a large LED projection, say this entire area, but your cube is here. As the cube moves up and down, you will see that portion of the picture. So sometimes if we have a low trim height, he has to adjust some of those pictures to make sure we're seeing the things that are intended to be seen in that photograph or in that video clip. And that's pretty much the rig rundown.